we welcome you today, and it's kind of funny that I'd be introducing this topic because I know about a nano bandwidth of information as it relates to information technology, and as far as mobile technology, I have a hard time making my cell phone work. So just so you know, I'm not the expert in this field, but we certainly have one with us today. We at USF SM welcome you to our community here, and hope you come back for other speeches and conversations that we have, like the IT Matters series. We offer 4 different distinct colleges here at USF. College of Hospitality and Information Technology is the one that's representing this speaker tonight. Our College of Business, our College of Education, and our College of Arts and Sciences. We're excited about the growth of our campus. We really hope in the next 10 years that we have a vibrant, student-centric campus, more so than we've had in the past. So look for a lot of those details coming forward as we grow our campus. Again, we thank you for being with us tonight, and I'd like to welcome someone with a bit more knowledge than I in this area, our Dean of Hospitality and Technology Leadership, Dean Jihan Chabangalu. I screwed it up. So I gave the other Dean.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dennis. My name is Jihan Chobanoglu, as I call this, the most common name in America, as you all probably know. But on a serious note, I'm proud to be the Dean of the College of Hospitality and Technology Leadership at USF Sarasota Manatee. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon and being with us with our distinguished speaker. Before we go, I'm going to actually introduce Dr. Sunita Lodvik to introduce our speaker, but I want to give you, for those of you who are not from a student here, obviously from the industry, to give you a little bit perspective on our college. Our college is unique. You probably never heard hospitality and information technology within the same umbrella in other universities. This happened here consciously. The information technology was housed under College of Arts and Sciences before the creation of this college. But my personal research interest is hospitality technology. I have a PhD in MIS. I have a hospitality degree. I thought at that time it would be wonderful to join these 2 distinct industries together. As you all know, what is IT not in now? Everything is IT. Obviously, hospitality offers amazing IT opportunities for the airline, hotel, restaurants, and other industries. Therefore, we joined our forces and we created this unique college. It's not the College of Hospitality Technology, it's the College of Hospitality and Technology Leadership. So there are 2 different distinct departments underneath, but we work together with, as a matter of fact, we just get a student actually in the master's degree in hospitality, but she's got a IT background, computer engineering, that she's thinking about going into the hospitality technology area. We have about 400 students in our college, kind of evenly divided into information technology, about 200, and another 200 into hospitality. But IT major is a little bit unique. It's online degree. Therefore, when I have an event like this and I see the students for the first time, I'm so happy. Can I ask you how many of you are students in the IT program here? Wow, that's amazing. I didn't recognize you, unfortunately, because we don't. But we are having some plans to actually have more presence events on campus like this so we can get to know each other. In hospitality, we have online courses, and of course we have face-to-face courses, but we would like to do that more with the IT. Of course, IT offers that online a lot of flexibility. We've got students from all around the world, actually. We've got students in Germany at the Army station there that they are taking courses from there. So that gives us, in terms of the information technology, we are doing a lot of great things. We are in the process of hiring 4 new faculty members, which is an amazing investment from the university to the IT program. Of course, at the University of South Florida system, there is a lot of movements going in terms of cybersecurity and all that stuff, and we are proud to be part of those discussions as well. Without further ado, I would like to invite our IT program lead, Dr. Sunita Lodvik, to come and introduce our speakers and maybe say a few words too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jihan. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. And one of the things which I would like to mention about our speaker, Klaus Duell, he's a transplant to Florida, to Bradenton from Germany. It's, like so many other Europeans and so many other Americans, you come to Florida and then you fall in love with Florida, and then the next thing you know, we've moved here, right? Okay. So Klaus and his wife Bridget, they have recently bought a home in Bradenton, and so we'll see, hopefully, much more of them. Okay. Now, Klaus is in Germany. He's a well-known name in the area of mobile security, and he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, and he's an educator, and of course, the transplant to Florida. Okay. As I mentioned, he is a recognized name in Europe, and he, as part of his business, he has a clientele which spans both the public sector and the private sector. He has many clients in Germany itself, as well as these multinationals in Europe. And for each one of them, he has planned a mobile security strategy, and not only just planned the strategy, but also, along with his team, he has implemented these systems for them. Okay, so, and each one of those implementations is unique because they meet the client's needs. So they are custom implementations. Okay. In the education area, Klaus he was the driving force behind the establishment of a center of excellence at the University of Freiburg, which is like one of the 3 top universities in Germany. And again, Klaus is a firm believer in that, we should have a good, solid science foundation, science education, and that is, of course, evident in his close cooperation with schools and with universities. Now, again, Klaus he believes very strongly in enterprise security, and one of the things which he forecasts and predicts, and I think which is evident, is that within the next few years, we are going to see an explosion in enterprise mobility. Okay. People are going to be conducting business on the fly, on the road, wherever they are. Okay, and it's going to be very much through their smartphones, their handheld devices, whatever. Okay, and he also feels that currently this enterprise mobility, the whole topic of enterprise mobility, enterprise security, is not being implemented as part of our education, as part of our curriculum. And so he is working very closely with educational institutions, with colleges and with the universities in the area of enterprise mobility, information security, as well as internet privacy. Okay, so as an example, we have a student, Joe Lamora, who's here. He's a senior in the BSIT program, and he'll be graduating pretty soon. And he has been interning with Klaus. And I would like Joe to come up and say a few words of his experience.
I'll try to keep it short, under 10 minutes if I can. I feel really lucky to be here, and I'd like to thank Dr. Ludwig and Klaus for allowing me to participate in this internship. I feel like the blind squirrel that found a nut. I really do. It's really awesome. Like Professor Ludwig mentioned, I'll be graduating very soon, and I've been interning for about 6 weeks now with Klaus, and it's been awesome. I don't know how else to say it. I'm learning new concepts revolving around mobile security, implementing different concepts and ideas that he's introducing me to. So I'm really excited about it. The high points of the internship for me, Klaus he's just a great guy. Like, we hit it off immediately. We have a lot of viewpoints that we share, so it was very comfortable for me to ease into this internship. We have good chemistry. He's always there to answer my questions. It's just awesome. It's like I have him on demand. I just text him and I get an answer back like in 10 minutes. It's great. So it's really good to have somebody that can give me feedback instantly. And I'm really passionate about the nature of the internship with the security of the mobile phones. Like Dr. Ludwig said, this is going to be it moving forward. These devices, I forgot where I read this, but somebody made an analogy that these phones are going to become like cars, and desktops and laptops are going to become like trucks, and there'll be a lot more cars than trucks. So I'm glad that I have a car expert that I'm in an internship with, and that's really, really neat. And class gives me a lot of flexibility to explore new concepts and ideas, so I'm allowed to kind of freestyle my solutions to some of the concepts that he wants me to pursue. So I'm in the learning stage right now, and it's iterative, and every 2 weeks we get together and we sit down and I ask him more questions and he gives me good answers and feedback, and then we just go through the iterations. On the technical side, I'm getting hands on all kinds of great tools. Datamo Mobile Data, his proprietary software, I got trained last week, is awesome software. I'm learning how to control these phones from remotely from my desktop and manage them. Had a great training there. I'm learning about custom ROMs, Android operating system. 3 months ago, I did not own a smartphone. And now I'm doing things to the smartphone that I never would imagine that you could do to a smartphone. I'm into the phone very deeply and finding out that it can be pushed and contorted into different ways that I had never really thought that I could actually accomplish. So I've learned about the power of rooting your phone, unlocking bootloaders, just all kinds of neat stuff that I'm learning. So, but it's iterative, and I'm just getting started. It's only been 6 weeks, and it's just awesome stuff. And Klaus is a great guy, and I didn't realize I'd be speaking when I signed up for this one. And I'm glad I get a chance to say thank you to Dr. Ludwig and Klaus for giving me this opportunity. It's just been super awesome so far, and I'm really pumped up to continue on with the internship. It's just awesome, and thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Klaus. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, Klaus Dull, entrepreneur, businessman, educator. There you go.
Thank you so much, Sunita, for the nice introduction, and thank you all for coming here this afternoon. I'm happy to see you all here. This is my first talk in the United States, so it's a premiere for me. And first of all, I want to tell you I love this country. That's the reason I relocated from Germany to here. And everybody in Germany tells me all the time, oh, not everything in America is so good. Because I'm telling the people what I like and what I love with this country. And my wife always said, oh, a little bit less is also good. But I love America, I like America, and therefore I came here. And it's like every love. It's like your wife, it's like your husband. Every love has also some little spots which could be better, and where a little bit of improvement would be not so bad for the relationship. And let's talk today about some of these possible improvements. And I'm quite sure America and Germany will find closer together if some of these improvements will happen. And therefore, I tell you today some things about the American way and the German view on it and the German perspective on all of these things. At the beginning, just let you know what the Freiburg University is. I'm there a teacher, and I've set up a program for improving the education of the students and improving the technologies, how we teach the students there. Later more to this. On the second hand, I'm in Europe a pretty well-known keynote speaker and journalist. I write a lot about mobility, mobile security, and data protection. For instance, this year I've been with 20 keynotes or talks on the CeBIT, that's the largest computer show in the world. And last but not least, I'm an entrepreneur, and the American company I've set up and started in May of this year is called Itzker. It's a very difficult name, Itzker, like it's German. And we're doing there mobile security, IT security, and data protection with a German perspective or with a different perspective, like you may know and like you have experienced in the past. And you're invited all the time, ask questions. I'm doing this for you. And if you have a question, you can ask it on the fly. I'm comfortable with, and I have no problem to interact with you. Data protection in America starts with this question. Are you a terrorist? I was shocked when I was asked, are you a terrorist? I don't know even any terrorist. I've never been in Arabia or in other countries which are considered as states where these people live, but I get this question quite often when I was traveling around America because I was talking about data protection. And some Americans believe, and not just only a few, that data protection and terrorism is related. And the first lesson I want to give you today, it's not. Data protection and terrorism are quite far away from each other. And if I traveled at the early beginnings through the United States, I heard very often, I'm not caring about my data. Why? Why should I care about my data? I'm caring about my coast. And this have been very serious business people, and I don't believe that they have thought about all the implications of this sentence. Because caring about coast is also caring about data. If you're coming to an end and if you understand why you should care about data. And the last sentence I often hear, I have nothing to hide. You're a pretty poor person if you really don't have nothing to hide. I don't want to be you if you have nothing to hide. A person who has nothing to hide is near to dead for me. I think everybody has to hide something. Everybody has his small secrecies, and it's a good right of every person, of every man and every woman in the world, to hide the things where he or she thinks it's private, it's just our own, it's just for me, and I'm taking care of it. And therefore, I believe we all have something to hide without being criminals, without being terrorists, or without being unlawful. Everybody has to hide something. And we are going to Germany and talking with people about data protection. We have totally different answers. It's totally different going to Germany. So at the very early beginning, when I came to the United States, I believed, oh, we are so it's all the same, it's the same culture, it's so pretty similar all. And after being here for now nearly 1 year, I've learned, oh, it's very different. And I love many things from United States, and I've experienced many, many differences. And data protection is one of the big points where differences are existing. Also in Germany, you hear the sentence, I have nothing to hide, especially from younger people who are using Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or all the social media and presenting their photos, presenting their data, presenting their stuff. But, and that's a big difference in Germany, if you're talking about data protection, the German would say, I'm completely different educated about data protection. Data protection you hear inside Germany from morning to evening, like football here or baseball or other things. Germany is much more political. If you're looking TV, you see much more political magazines, much more news from the world. If you look here to the TV, I'm always excited to see so much sport because I love sport. But you don't see so much about Germany and France and England. In Germany, it's totally different. You see all the day about America, Mexico, South America, Russia, all over the world. We often forgot ourselves because we are so excited to learn about the world and about the different things. And so data protection is also a thing which small children even learn in the school, which students learn during their studies, because protecting your data is considered totally different in Germany and also in Austria, also in Switzerland, also in the Netherlands, in many, many European countries than here. It's totally different, the view on the subject. And there are only two countries which are pretty similar to the United States. That's Ireland and that's UK. There you have literally the same perception like you have in the United States. But all the other European states have a different view and a totally different education on data protection. And the fundamental difference is that data protection in Germany and many European states is based on laws and considered as a fundamental right. It's really a fundamental right. And the people are getting scary if their data are stolen, if their data are compromised, if they are affected in any way, because data protection is considered as a very, very severe fundamental right. And therefore we have, for instance, inside Germany, maybe you have heard about many people who say, I don't want to be on Google Street View. And Google Street View, if you're looking on Google Street View in Germany, you're driving through a pixel landscape. Pixel by pixel by pixel. Many, many streets are pixeled totally because the Germans don't want to be on Street View. German young people are leaving Facebook in thousands because they have understood what's done with their data there and they don't like it. I don't say it's good or bad, but it's totally different than the things you're experiencing here. And that's based, like everything else in the world, on education. Germans are educated that data protection is important. If we look into the history in Germany related to data protection, we see the year 1970. That's almost 50 years ago. In 1970, the first ever data protection law in the world happened in Germany in the state Hesse. And since then, we have a constant history over all the states of Germany. 1974, Rhineland-Palatinate, 1977, Bremen, 1978, many countries like Bavaria, Saarland, Lower Saxony, Schleswig-Holstein, North Rhine-Westphalia, West Berlin at this time, maybe you have never heard about. These are states like Florida, Georgia, Alabama. That's the structure of Germany. 1979, Baden-Württemberg. 1981, Hamburg. 1991, these are the former Eastern German countries, Thuringia and Saxony. 1 year after the reunion, it happened. 1992, Brandenburg, Saxony-Anhalt, Mecklenburg, West Pomerania. So 1992, all was done in Germany about data protection. And there was, in 1977, the first federal law. It's called Bundesdatenschutzgesetz. And this, yeah, really, Bundesdatenschutzgesetz. Sounds funny, I like it. And this law was 1983 burned into the brains and into the hearts of the Germans, because in 1983 happened a judgment about the national census. In 1981, there should take place a national census, and many, many Germans were so heavily against this census and protesting and demonstrating and walking on the streets, collecting signatures, and refused to take part in the census. It was a broad movement. If you consider this in 2014, in times of Facebook and other social media, where the people spread their data with fun all over the world, you cannot imagine this happened just only 30 years ago. It's not far away. But in 1981, it happened, and in 1983, there was a judgment of the High Court from Germany about the national census. And this judgment is a foundation for considering data protection as a fundamental right. The High Court in Germany, or of Germany, decided data protection has the same level like religious freedom, like human rights. Data protection is the highest level of right you can have under the consideration of the German High Court. And in 1995, the European Union brought the Directive 95/48 EC, the so-called Data Protection Directive, in place, and that was a starting point for unifying the data protection levels also inside Europe. European Union now consists of 28 states from east to west, and is a quite huge union after these many enforcements and new countries which joined the union in the last 20 years. In America, it's a little bit different. In America, some of you may know it, but I also experience often Americans don't know much details about this because this subject is not so popular or not so widespread. In America, the Privacy Act of 1974 stated some rules, and in connection with the E-Government Act of 2002 and the Federal Information Security Management Act. These three acts are in place for stuff which is related to data protection, and the differences are quite huge. In Germany, we have, as I told, own data protection laws stating data protection as a fundamental right. In America, and data protection laws are ruling each and every area of the society, for the public sector and the private sector. If you are running a company, and even it's a very small company, you have to obey everything according to data protection laws. Otherwise, you have penalties which are so high that your company will go bankruptcy or will stop business. Just a simple, giving you an idea about the rigidity of all these rules. For instance, you're running a company and your secretary is sending an email to 400 people. You're doing some marketing, and your secretary is in a hurry and pushes all these addresses not to BCC and is not using a mail system for mailings. She's just putting it to CC. First attempt in Germany, 500,000 euro. So this is around 700,000 US dollar. Okay? It's pretty expensive doing mistakes in this area, and so people don't like to do these mistakes, because if you are a small company, 700,000 US could damage all the company, and therefore it's a real big difference. In Germany, we have a federal commissioner for data protection. This commissioner is elected by the parliament. He has a right to refuse to testify everything which is related to data protection, not if he has driven too fast or something like this. But, and not but, he's independent from all other authorities. He's only obliged to the data protection laws. No chancellor, no president, no police, nobody can force him to do anything. He's totally free. He's over the law, or he's beside the law. He protects the data protection laws of Germany. And similar is in Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, and other European countries in place. And he's responsible for public and the private sector. The private sector, but only for telecommunication companies and mail companies like FedEx and other companies. All the other companies are ruled by the commissioners of the states. But every company in Germany is ruled by a commissioner for data protection. And this commissioner is not bound to any other authority. He's free in his decisions, and he has the highest volume for punishments, higher than many other authorities, and he is quite feared for this because it's pretty expensive doing mistakes in the data protection area. In the United States, it's a little bit different. In the United States, we have the Chief Privacy and Civil Liberties Officer with the Department of Justice. She, at the moment, this is a lady, she is not elected by the parliament. She is one beside many others at federal level. Homeland Security has their own one, White House has their own one, everywhere you have their own one, but nobody who is over all of them. And all of them are not independent, they are inside the structure of the ministry or inside the structure of the organization, and they are always only responsible for the public sector. The second difference between Germany, or let me say Europe, because that's widespread in Europe nowadays, I'm sorry, that's life. Beside these differences, there's a big difference, and this difference is called Florida. Maybe you don't know this. Anybody knows what I'm referring to now? Sorry? No. Let's go ahead. Before I come to the differences which are taking place in Florida, I'm talking a little bit of the background for the things which have happened in Florida. And these are all the identity theft problems during the last 12 months, all the data protection scandals you have heard and read a lot about. There have been so many. Up to today in this year, these are 621. and only the biggest are here on the screen. Target with 70 million, Home Depot with 53 million, Chase with 76 million, and Experian, for instance, that's a credit bureau, not so nice that they have been compromised. P.F. Chang's, it's a restaurant chain, Jimmy John's, eBay, SuperValue, PayPal, Neiman Marcus, Michaels, Sally Beauty Supply, AT&T. It's so unbelievable how many identity theft happens during the last 12 months in this country that I believe the people should be a little bit more anxious about. But I read all the time, oh no, it's not important, we are insured. So the awareness of this problem is not in every head up to now, I believe. And maybe that's part of a little problem. I don't know, because all the companies cannot pay all the time the insurances for identity theft. You should protect yourself at the end. The data protection in Florida, I believe, has done a big step, also pushed by all these events. Because July 1st was a very good day for Florida. July 1st, the Florida Information Protection Act of 2014, FIPA, became effective. And I believe this was a good day for Florida. Maybe even if you have never heard about this, it's interesting for you, because the data protection in Florida offers standards which are quite close to Europe or Germany. You have now much more personal information covered. Even credentials for social media, even logins are protected. And even if and if your company loses, let me say, one credential, you have to report it. And if you miss to report it, it's pretty expensive. I show you later. And the last point, this law is regulating every commercial and every governmental entity. Nobody can say, excuse, I'm not covered by FIPA. FIPA is a great law, and I like it. And the notice requirements are much stricter than before. Before, a company has 45 days. Now, a company has a maximum of 30 days. And there are no excuses, and it's not attractive for a company to extend to these 30 days, because from the first day they became knowledge of the problem, they have to pay $1,000 for every day. For the second month, they have to pay $50,000 up to the 6th month. And even afterwards, they have to pay, and it's only capped by $500,000. And that's a good step into the right direction for setting a good data protection in place. And Florida is, with this data protection law, by my knowledge, the only state in the United States who has such a substantial and rigid data protection law in place. All what I learned about this law, it's massively influenced and affected by all these problems which have arisen by identity theft. If these identity theft problems wouldn't have happened, maybe this law would be in place now. I don't know. But I think it's a real good stuff and a real good first step for better data protection. And therefore, I love this law, and I love all the things which are in place with this law. Problems for United States, according to data protection, are some, and I just want to point them out for you. You have ever heard about safe harbor? Just one. Yeah? You know. Good. Safe harbor, for all the others, is this real safety or is it marketing? Giving you a little bit background on Safe Harbor. So you have a website in the internet, export.gov from the government. And there is stated out, introduction, and I read it for you. The European Commission's directive on data protection went into effect in October of 1998 and would prohibit the transfer of personal data to non-European Union countries that do not meet the European Union adequacy standard for privacy protection. While the United States and the EU share the goal of enhancing privacy protection for their citizens, the United States takes a different approach to privacy from that taken by the European Union. Difference is very moderate. The Europeans consider it as not existing, so different is a moderate description for the situation which is in place. When the European Commission put the legislation in place for Europe, America recognizes, oh, we have a problem. We cannot do business with them anymore if we don't follow their crazy rules. Crazy Europeans, they are doing things nobody needs, but we will do. So this was an idea. And as Europeans are always a little bit stupid, they have negotiated very bad rules, and these bad rules are now in place and called Safe Harbor. What's Safe Harbor? Safe Harbor is this fantastic seal you can find on many websites of internet companies and others. We self-certify compliance with US EU Safe Harbor, US Department of Commerce. Safe Harbor is in Europe mostly considered as meaningless. It's nothing else than a self-cert that you say, I have understood European data protection and I will follow all the rules. Just sign in your credit card, $200, and all is done. You need 5 minutes for Safe Harbor. It's a good education for your organization, and therefore, many Europeans, after all the disturbances during the last 2 years, don't believe anymore in Safe Harbor. And the biggest problem of Safe Harbor is that's meaningless because it only says, even if you're perfect, if you're doing a perfect job, if you're protecting the data, every state agency from the United States is entitled to access the data. All the day, all the night. NSA, FBI, CIA, all these agencies are able, because it's lawful, to access this data. And therefore, Europeans don't believe so strong in Safe Harbor. And therefore, a little problem is upcoming for America, because there's another thing maybe you have never heard about, TTIP. It's also not so popular in the United States. That's the so-called Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And the treaty, which is negotiated at the moment, and over 1 million have given their signature against in Europe up to now. And it's counting. It's running more and more and more. And I say TTIP will never come in place because the resistance against TTIP is so massive, because TTIP, just a few considerations from European perspective, Americans may see this different, but TTIP brings in place arbitration for problems which companies have. All the real legislation is taken out of order. And Europeans don't love this because they don't want to have these arbitration. Because, for instance, IBM can file a complaint against Germany, and this arbitration panel will judge Germany has to pay 10 billion to IBM. This would never happen at a public court, but at these arbitration panels, such judgments have happened in the past. And therefore, there are some other things related to data protection why TTIP is not popular at the moment in Europe because the data protection, which is here in place, is nearly not existing, and the Europeans want to defend their data protection. And the background why I believe this will never come in place is ACTA. You may even have not heard about this. ACTA was an anti-counterfeiting trade agreement, and this was rejected by the European Parliament on July 4th, 2012. And it's in general the same like TTIP with another name. And after failing with ACTA, the politicians have proceeded with TTIP. It's even worse than ACTA from the perspective of the critics, and therefore these things won't happen. And the biggest problem for American companies at the moment is that data in the reach of US companies are neither private nor protected against US authorities. And it's not good or bad. I'm not against or pro. It's a law. It's the American law that agencies and authorities can access all the data they want to see. That's coming up with all the Patriot Act legislation since 2001, and many special laws are in place. And for instance, maybe you have also never heard about if an agent from an agency comes to you and says to you, this is a national security letter, I want to see this and that, you are not allowed to talk about this letter for 10 years. Therefore, the next thing we are talking about is related to this, and that's actually a very, very big problem for many, many companies from the US doing business in Europe. And that's Loretta Preska. Maybe you have also never heard from this lady. She's a chief judge of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. This lady ruled on July 31 against Microsoft. The fact was Microsoft objected to a warrant for email records issued as part of a federal criminal investigation, arguing that the data is stored on servers in Ireland and therefore protected from United States access without an Irish warrant. But on July 31, 2014, Judge Preska ruled the data must be turned over to the United States authorities. And she said, it's a question of control, not a question of the location of that information. And that's the truth. That's the law in the United States. And now American companies have very, very big problems doing business outside the United States because not every country loves these rules. Preska has said this, and therefore Microsoft is defending, together with Google and other big players and other big corporations in the United States, against this ruling from Mrs. Preska. But I don't believe that it will change, because there are also many other rulings in the world, and everybody who wants to know this fact knows this fact. And not yesterday, day before yesterday, I received an email from Amazon, and Amazon was so happy to invite me to the new data center in Frankfurt, a German Amazon data center. That's big and wonderful marketing, because if you're an agent of an US authority, you won't go away because the data are in Frankfurt. The data are on an infrastructure of Amazon, and it's lawful to review this data. That's not bad. That's a law. And the law have to be obeyed. Maybe the law is not so perfect. I cannot decide, because that's up to America and the United States to decide, is it perfect or is it not? But it's damaging a lot of business. And all the European companies, many German companies, put out the champagne when this happened, because it's firing the business in a way we have never thought. Because in Europe, it's not very popular at the moment to go to data centers from Microsoft, from Amazon, from IBM. No, that's definitely unpopular. The baseline is data protection and privacy protection are not existing in America as they are existing in Europe, and especially in Germany with an actual top-notch standard for the data protection. Many say, not because I'm a German, many experts say Germany has a gold standard for data protection. Therefore, we generate a lot of additional and new business also from America. Also, ITSCA does it now because Americans love to have their data, not all, but many, in Germany or in a safe harbor where the data is really protected. And you can ask Joe, he has learned a lot about these things during the last weeks and was astonished one time after the other time. I was saying, I'm saying anything wrong? Okay. So data protection could be a big asset for America, and I believe it will happen because this country has learned in the past mostly much faster than all other countries, and I'm so sure that all the enterprises will force the legislation to think about some rules which are damaging American business at the moment, and therefore I believe it's a good time that the things are coming like they are coming now, and it will happen that America learns. And then we have to put our closest closer in Germany and in Europe, because then the counter-strike will happen and America will be back. I'm quite sure that this will be. IT security. IT security and the subset, which is called cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is, from my understanding, only a subset of IT security, are not thinkable without data protection and privacy protection. What's the reason for this? Because I think this sentence or the statement is not familiar for everybody here, not understandable from itself. Therefore, IT security, you can compare it in a very easy way if you are comparing checking accounts. I think everybody of you has a checking account, and therefore you can understand what's the difference which I'm pointing out now. In Germany, at least two-factor authentication. In America, standard websites. I was shocked when I got my first Chase account and my first Bank of America account, and I ran to bank. My very first account was Bank of America, and then they gave me all the materials, and then I reviewed, and I didn't find any security stuff, and I thought I did a mistake because I thought in America, for Germans, America is there, yeah. And I thought, oh, how stupid I am. You have not understood to use a checking account. This was my idea of myself. And then I went back to Bank of America and said, I'm so sorry, I'm a little bit stupid. Maybe I have not understood everything fine. Please explain me how to use it. I don't. And the lady said, huh? You have all. I said, no. I have no security codes. I have no alarm on my smartphones. I can just put in an account and send money. Yes, you're done. I thought, sorry. And I thought the lady was in error. And therefore, later, 1 hour later, it was on Anna Maria, Bank of America, home speech. 1 hour later, when she has a break, I walked again in and said, maybe I'm in error because I'm not so familiar with the country, I'm new, and please explain me how I have to set up all the security features, because I was not willing or not able to understand that there aren't any. For me, it was no fun. And now I have several other accounts, and it's always the same. It's a website. You insert account numbers and routing numbers. They send out, if you're transferring between your own accounts, 27 cents and 31 cents. You have to insert it back on the website, and after this, you can send money, send money, send money. And if such an account is hacked, that's no fun. Sure. Giving you the impression of what's happening in Germany. In Germany, the worst, the really worst security level is that you're getting a text on your smartphone. So you're inserting your password, you're inserting all the data for the transaction, and then you say, do it. And then you get a text message on your smartphone. But that's not considered as pretty good. Therefore, the highest security level, which we are using as a company, or many other people are also using, is using smart cards. So you have hardware, and hardware is protecting your account. You have a smart card reader with your notebook or with your laptop or your PC, and you can work with this. And it's not allowed doing banking in the way as it happens here in Germany. It's prohibited. A bank would lose her license if they would offer accounts in this way. So it's a real big difference. And I think it's also a little bit caused by profit considerations, because it's expensive, this system, and this system has to be maintained, and it's much more work and much more cost for a bank or for anybody who's setting up such systems, and therefore I believe it's based on cost. But I think it's the wrong way in a country where you have had more than 200 million identity thefts during the last 10 months. So also this maybe could be changed. IT security in general, and this was an awesome conference in Tampa just 3 weeks ago, was also the takeout from the cybersecurity conference at USF Tampa on October the 8th. It's all about people. If you educate people, if you prevent social engineering and social attacks, you have done a lot of things right. And this was, Sunita, you remember it, this was a takeout in every of the talks at this conference. This is so much underestimated in the United States. In the United States, I love it. Even spoons can fly in this country. Everything is so technical, and I love this approach. But sometimes the technical approach is missing the people. And therefore, I was really very positive about this conference, because it's all about people, was my takeout, leaving there, or our takeout when we left this conference. And all about people means, and that's quite important, we are here at the university, it's all about education. Because I cannot be angry with you if nobody has told you you have to go this way or that way. I cannot be shocked that you are doing wrong things if nobody has trained you or educated you what's the right way. So if you want to have security, you have to have good education. And this was a starting point. Oops, back again. This was a starting point for our concept at the University of Freiburg in Germany. Because there, the people saw that many students left the university and were not enabled for doing business in a normal company. And this was a starting point in Freiburg to set up an education which is called Center of Key Qualifications. Because, for instance, if you're learning about history, old Greece or something like this, may be amazing, but for the real life, you need some other abilities and some other features which you can use inside a company. And so we came up at the University of Freiburg with a so-called Center of Key Qualifications. And because they had nobody who has any knowledge about mobility, they came to me and said, your reputation is not so bad. Would you like to become professor with us and help our students to go this ways, because nobody of us, nobody in the center is able to give this education. And therefore I said yes, because I believe very strong that you should give back also to the community, and that's the way you can do it. And therefore I'm there and educating the students about mobile business, mobile security, and business mobility in general, and in the meantime also social media, because the students demands education on social media. In general, and that's my constant opinion all over the years, people are good. There's no doubt. Nobody is bad from itself or herself or himself. People are good. But IT security is nearly never self-explaining. Even young people have to learn about it. And even people who consider themselves as educated have to learn. That's the reason for our Center of Key Qualifications. And people are good and always self-confident to be able to use social media, computers, smartphones, appropriate and secure. Everybody of you would not answer, I can't do. You believe you can do, you believe, and that's normal and that's okay. But is it true? 97%, and that's also a good thing of our Center of Key Qualifications. We have very strict reviews. Every student has to fill so many questionnaires before and after, so we know a little bit about the things what students are thinking. 97% of my students at University of Freiburg say at the start of my seminars that they are good users, really good users, and have good knowledge of the IT stuff they use. And being honest, they believe it. Over 80% of my students say they have never had an issue with identity theft or lost data. I'm always astonished, but they believe it. Let them believe. Over 75% of my students say they know their smartphone quite well. I'm always astonished, but they know. And between 85, that's different, and 95 of my students use Facebook, WhatsApp, and similar tools with confidence, with big confidence. You will see this also in this country. But people can learn. After the seminar, the 97% believing that they have good knowledge have decreased to always under 30%, and even up to 11%, because they learned something in the seminars. All are concerned about the data they have leaked after the seminar over the years, and all of them change their passwords or their password rules instantly, and nearly all of them are using password containers afterwards. Many are astonished about the functionalities of their smartphones and the lost data from these sources. Never heard before. But after the seminar, they change their behavior. And that's important. That you can reach changes of behavior from people. And roughly a third, and that's the part where I'm the proudest guy ever, roughly a third changes the usage of Facebook or tear it totally down, this I love mostly, and or change from WhatsApp to a secure messenger like Threema or other messengers. And that's the reason I'm doing this job, because I love to give this to the people to understand why it's so risky, why it's so dangerous, why it's dangerous for your future if you're 20. For me, I'm 56. It's not so dangerous like for a person who's 21. There are 35 years in between which I have spent and which are not any more risky for me. But for young people, it can be quite risky. IT security, and that's my very, very, very strong opinion. IT security starts at the university. University Freiburg has started these enabling concepts with core capabilities for business use, and the businesses love it. I have so many letters from students who said, I got the job because of your seminars. I was appointed to this because of your seminars. And that's fun. And I love this because that's showing it's worth the time and it's worth doing this job for the students and with the students. IT security always, and I think this is also a thing I experienced with Joe and other great people, and Joe was a real great intern. IT security starts always with the knowledge about alternatives. If you don't know what you can do better, you won't do it. You don't even have any chance to do it. But if you know them, you can start. Here are just 6, and hundreds more are existing. SecureSafe is the most secure password container in the world. Boxcryptor allows you encrypting your data on all cloud stuff, like Google Drive, like Dropbox, and so on. TeamDrive is a secure private cloud. Tutanota is a secure, encrypted private email. ProtonMail is the same, and StartMail is the same. The mail solutions differ by the country where they're coming from. Proton comes from Switzerland, StartMail comes from the Netherlands, and all the above 4 are coming from Germany. And so, if you show people these solutions, that they are existing, all the stuff I show you here is free. You don't have to pay for. I'm not selling you anything. My education is not selling products. My education is enabling people doing a safer life, living a safer life, and having more peace of mind for you and your friends and your family. That's important for me. And therefore, you can use any of them. They are all free, and you will enjoy more privacy, more data protection, and it's without any effort. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to install anything, because all these Boxcryptor you have to install on client, and TeamDrive you have to install on client, but then all the other things is happening in the cloud, and all is happening fully encrypted. Mobility, before I'm coming to the end, and giving you the chance to ask some questions. Mobility is my core competence, some people say. And the reason why I switched over 10 years ago to mobile was I was believing everything goes mobile, and I was asking even in 2004, is this good? And in 2004, my question was, yes, I love this idea. In 2014, I'm not so sure. In 2004, I was addicted to BlackBerry. In 2014, I know how dangerous this tool is and how compromised. So it's all about learning. And it's not the question, is this good or is this bad, for my understanding? Because we won't change the world and we won't bring the ghost back to the bottle. It will happen. So it's up to us to interact with all the developments and to use it in an appropriate way. There is no alternative. And if we are talking about mobile, this, many of you might have be heard, bring your own device. Is this good? Who needs it? Is bring your own device good? Hands up. Is bring your own device bad? Hands up. And many don't know. That's good. That's normal. Bring your own device. In front of you, standing one of the most prominent attackers of bring your own device. Because bring your own device is the most stupid idea which was brought up in IT ever. Because it's impossible, if you're looking at this development from a company perspective, to manage it. Just giving you an impression. Joe believes when we came together that there are some 300, some 400 Android devices out in the world. Something like this. We make this game. I don't force you to say 700, 1,500, 2,500, no. I make it short. We guess that the combinations of devices, firmwares, that's the software on the devices, top-ups from the manufacturers, it may count between 25 and 35,000 at the moment. Nobody knows exactly. Because there are so many devices which are just sold 2,000 of this, 3,000 of this, and each of them are different. And even if you believe they look all similar or they look same, they are not same. If you're manufacturing software for them, for managing these devices, it's a nightmare. You cannot do. And Android is the biggest nightmare for all these manufacturers who are manufacturing software for managing mobile devices. Because you cannot manage all these devices which are out in the field. And now imagine, Sunita is bringing her Android, Anna is bringing her Android, everybody is bringing his Android. I can promise you 80% of these devices are not manageable. And therefore, bring your own device is just crazy because it don't work. There are many concepts with containers, but the containers are not running on the device. And we can talk, or we can have a separate talk, 2 or 3 hours about bring your own device, why it's not working. And I'm often panelist on panels with others from the industry who are proposing we can do, and I'm asking them questions, and after half an hour they're all under the table and nobody wants to discuss with me anymore because it's not working. If you understand it, there is no way how you can get it up and running in a serious way. And therefore, bring your own device is a big marketing trick from Gartner because they need consulting days. And it's a good job, consulting on bring your own device and researching. That's not possible. Oh, wow. With your company, bring your own device would not work. Oh, I'm so astonished. With your company also not. And oh, with your also not. Oh. Serious business is a little bit different. curse or blessing? That's a question about mobility. And again, I have not the answer. I believe a little bit more curse. If I'm in conferences and everybody is sitting here and looking on a smartphone and you need a box for the smartphones because you have to manage the kindergarten, that's no fun if you're doing training and everybody is playing on his smartphone, writing emails on his smartphone. And if you're in the front of this audience, no fun, definitely not. And therefore, for me at the moment, we are living and I'm living from mobility, mobile and all these things. But in general, I believe curse is not the wrongest consideration, but we have to live with, and therefore we have to move it from the curse to the blessing. That's our task. Data protection and IT security are in the mobile arena much, much, much more important than in the traditional IT. The risks in the mobility are much, much higher because you have not only the risk that you can move it away while Anna is looking to her camera. You have also the risk of losing the devices. The devices are lost much easier than a notebook or laptop in the past. And you have also the problem that so many data are joined on these devices nowadays that you have to have your own risk profile of every user group. That's not easy because you cannot say, you can say, sure, you can say everything in the world, but it's not a good idea to put all data for everybody on every device. Therefore, you have profiles inside a company and you are profiling which employee gets which data on his device, for which reason. For instance, if you are traveling to China, your company will decide we clean it before and we will refresh it after the border. So that's a quite normal way traveling to China in Europe and I believe also here. And that's the same what you're doing with devices, what you're doing with custom ROMs. Custom ROMs are software on the devices which enables you to make Android smartphones much more secure than the standard smartphones which are coming from Samsung. For instance, Samsung smartphones are widespread. Somebody has Samsung here? I think so. Yeah. Somebody knows what S-Voice is? S-Voice is a Siri on Samsung. Let me say it in this way. But the next story, I think nobody knows. There was a cool little custom ROM developer in early 2013. He was astonished that the S-Voice was also always communicating with a server which was not intended. And after some research, he found out it was even not covered. It was a server .nsa.gov. All data from S-Voice were transferred to NSA servers. So if you like it, it's good. If you don't like it, it's up to you. Everybody can decide. And therefore, many people believe custom ROMs are more secure because you can decide, I want to have this application on my smartphone, I don't want to have this functionality, and so on. And that's a way eliminating risks and putting the risk level much lower than using standard hardware from standard vendors. And therefore, mobility brings a lot of risks which we even have not known 5 years ago. And 10 years ago, we even could not believe that this will happen. And 30 years ago, we have been against the censors. And now we are putting all on Facebook. That's the world. It's going ahead. The next problem in the mobility is the real big gap between the self-assessed knowledges and the real knowledge is, because these gaps are in mobile much bigger than in traditional IT. Everybody of you believes, oh, you can use your smartphone quite well. I believe you would guess this about you. But I'm also sure that you can learn a lot of it. And therefore, because you're using this device all the day, it's more dangerous because you believe, oh, I now know everything. But you don't know everything. I'm quite sure that you don't know everything. Most people, some inside this audience, maybe they have the knowledge. But I'm talking about the normal user. And therefore, this is a big problem because people are getting often unfriendly. Oh, you don't have to explain me this. Oh, I can use my phone alone and so on. This happens for our supporters and other personnel who has to train people. And that's not as easy if you're sitting in front of a new program which you get trained to and where you accept, I have to learn something. On the smartphone, everybody believes, I'm the hero. I'm the number one. Importance. Data protection, IT security, cybersecurity, and mobility are in Germany and in Europe considered as some of the most important trends for the next 10 years. I would love if all over the US, the things which have started in Florida on July 1st, 2014, would be a starting point for a different view on data protection and IT security. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. I'm curious how, in your practice with your consulting clients, you distinguish between state actors like the NSA that have the rule of law and a virtually unlimited budget from a threat standpoint, and criminal organizations when it comes to interception of data. Even when you're comparing and contrasting, say, Germany to the United States, it was a significant diplomatic snafu when it was discovered that the NSA had intercepted Chancellor Merkel's cell phone traffic, amongst others. So if even with the higher consumer standard in Germany, the Chancellor of Germany is vulnerable to state actors, I would pose a pretty good argument that anybody would be when it comes to organizations like the NSA or otherwise. So when dealing with clients, whether it's locally here in Florida or in Germany, how do you sort of distinguish realistically what you can do for kind of those two very different threats? That is, again, state actors and criminal gangs, like the ones that go after credit card numbers and such.
That's a very good question. Thank you. Good point. If you have a chancellor who's using a private phone from the party she belongs to, it's not so perfect. The stuff she had was good. It's called Simco 3. At this time, it was called Simco 2. It was a special phone with hardware encryption, and if she would have used this, wonderful. Then no NSA, also not only the NSA are the bad ones, there's also GHQV from Britain, there is BND from Germany, this is all one club. So I would not say the best guys are here or the best guys are there. Your question is, how can you protect your customers, your property against these? And I'm with Bruce Schneier. Bruce Schneier is a leading expert on encryption, and Bruce Schneier says encryption is the best way to protect, and everybody would encrypt. We won't talk about NSA or any other of these agencies, because there is a critical level of encryption. After this level, they can't decrypt nowadays. They can record all on everything. But look at our MDM system, for instance. We are the only MDM system in the world where a man-in-the-middle attack is not possible, because we encrypt all the communication between the devices and the server. And therefore, there's also constantly a change of the certs. So it's no fun to decrypt all this stuff, even if you record it. So maybe you can decrypt it in 5 years, but then it's nearly useless. And therefore, there are ways to protect customers, but the biggest threat is behavior. Mrs. Merkel is the best proof that bad behavior is a big risk, and many others also.
Any other questions, comments?
Hi, thank you for the lecture. Just briefly, could you talk about any collisions or cooperations between the field of data protection and the emerging data science field, which aims to collect and analyze as much data as possible?
Sunita, I have not really understood, sorry.
Any possible collisions or cooperations between the field of data science, data protection, which you're in, and data science?
Oh, sorry, big data. Yeah, it's an excellent question because big data is a real big problem at the moment because many companies have moved stuff into, let me say, the big data area. And they are now very anxious about the things which are happening with all these things. Look, for instance, at Samsung Knox. Maybe you have heard about. Samsung Knox is a container concept from Samsung, and they say we have the dual persona ability on every smartphone with Knox. You have to buy a license, you can buy it private or business, and so long so good. But they're using Centrify. Maybe you've heard about this. Centrify is an authentication service in the cloud. Centrify soaks with the so-called Centrify connector all AD, Active Directory hashes, out of a Active Directory server. Let me say 10,000 hashes needs approximately 10 seconds. So after 10 seconds, all hashes are delivered to this cloud. Is this spyware? Is this big data? Nobody knows. And that's the problem, which is related to all these stuff. And that's a problem if you have big data managed by companies who are under legislation where the legislator or where the agencies from the legislation can go to the company and say, show me all your data. Then you have a problem with big data. If you have a different right in place, like you have in Switzerland, for instance, I don't want to talk about Germany. Switzerland is also as excellent as Germany. Then you don't have any problem because you need years to get a court order to look at the data. And even on big data, encryption is a protection. We should not forget this because you can encrypt your data also on big data stuff, on Google Drive, on Box, on Dropbox, and so on. And the data are secure for some years, we believe. We don't know how long, but they should be secure for some time. And therefore, Box Cryptor is a good solution for everybody who's using big data storage like Google Drive or other drive. Just load down Box Cryptor, put it on your computer, and you are happy. You have it on your smartphone, you have it on your computer. Yeah, it's a great tool for free.
I would like to thank Mr. Klaus Dürr for a wonderful presentation. And he has mentioned some of the observations about the education of IT students in the United States versus Germany. And this is one of the reasons that after we met with him, at least shortly after he has seen his credentials, we have invited him to our IT advisory board And he kindly accepted our offer, so he is helping us to review our curriculum, which is an ongoing process, as you all know. And I did not mention this to you in the beginning of our conversation, but in our IT major, BSIT, we have 3 different concentrations. And the most popular concentration, which is more than 50% of the students are in, is information security. And we have, of course, the programming and also the project management concentrations next to them. But we are going to get a lot of wonderful information from Mr. Duhl. Also, the benefit of having the IT department with hospitality is that you get to eat good food. So we now, of course, you've got more time. Our students have prepared a great reception with some wine and beer. It's not German beer, but we do have that. It is right there, and then I would like to please ask you to stay, talk to him, but before I invite you to the reception, I would like to present with Sunita, please, a small appreciation of our token for him to come and talk to us, present him the bull, which is the mascot of University of South Florida, which we always explain to people that 2 horns of the bull represents the leadership and the power through knowledge. Thank you, Klaus.
Thank you very much.